They asked him to leave the job site. They said, we can't have you here hurting. That was the very beginning, that first stage of just hoping it's gonna break at any moment and unemployment's gonna come through and you're gonna be able to make it next month. So we kept getting help paying our rent every month. And then one day Mike says we're not gonna be able to make the rent. And it all fell apart from there. Packed all our stuff in a storage shed and went to Motel 6 in Petaluma and stayed there for about a week. And I got a call from a guy named Warren at COTS. And how you doing, Connie? I'm fine. He says, well, I said, we have $35 in our account. I don't know what we're gonna do. And he's like, well, I think we have an apartment for you guys. And I was like, what? I was in shock. I was just beside myself. Okay, this is gonna be okay. Okay, we're not gonna go to the street. We don't have to go to the shelter because I hadn't told my kids that was even an option yet. And it was always in the back of my mind, how am I gonna tell my kids this? Am I gonna tell my kids this? And I hadn't told my kids this.
Housing First is really about getting people housed, as quickly as possible. Get them off the street, get them out of what could potentially be dangerous situations, and get them into stable housing. And once we get them into stable housing, to keep them housed in any way that we can. That could be working on budgeting. It could be working on physical or mental health issues. It could be increasing their income. The old approach in homeless services was, we'll get you ready for housing. And what that means is you'll stay in a shelter while we help you save money, work on your credit, improve your health, and whatever else you need to do. And then you'll be ready for housing. But that ignores the fact that we're all born ready to have a home. In fact, we're born needing homes. As children, we need the security of a home in order to develop in a healthy way. And that need for security doesn't go away as an adult. Mike and Connie were one of our very first residents in Housing First. It was an experiment called Intention Housing. We subsidized their rent for a fixed period of time in their apartment in Petaluma. Connie was working as a special education teacher and Mike was working as a carpenter. Mike was injured on the job and there was a disagreement about who was going to pay for his injuries. Ultimately, the employer was held responsible, but it was years before this family saw a penny.
We went in and I started moving in, and I can remember standing in my kitchen and I'm looking out and I can see all these beautiful roses and this shrubbery. And in that moment, I just went, it's gonna be okay. This is beautiful, this is gorgeous, and it's gonna be okay. And that was it. We went from there.
Connie and Mike really had a window into both approaches. They were living in our own Proto Housing First program. They had their own family unit, their own apartment, and we provided some rental assistance and some services. But because they took our classes and would come to the shelter to meet with our staff, they had the chance to interact with families in our transitional housing programs and really get to know them. They were able to compare experiences. Being without a home complicates your life and makes it harder to progress in your goals. Well, just getting your kids fed and showered is complicated when you're sharing space with so many people.
And they were really focused on their day-to-day life. How do my kids do homework? How do we make our daily routine work? How do we get to bed at a certain time? How do we get a good breakfast early enough to get them to school? And privacy, and there was a lot of frustration, and they spent a lot of time focused on those kind of things, and we were able to focus on our future a little more. We were able to say, how are we gonna get out of this? How are we gonna secure an income in the future for us? How is this never gonna happen again? So our energy could go towards Mike taking classes, going to school, me securing a higher paying job. We were still able to focus on our kids' future. We could focus on fighting the fight of getting the unemployment that we were entitled to, that Mike was entitled to. So we did a lot of going to appeals meetings and talking to free lawyers, and we had more focus to do that. With COTS, they treated me with such dignity that I kind of got some of that back. I went in there this big, and once I talked to somebody, I got some of that back. You know what I mean? Got some hope back, got some of my dignity back. I think in the beginning it was hard. We fought a lot, and there was we were both under a lot of stress. And so we just kind of vowed to be kind to each other. And if one of us did mess up and say something that wasn't kind, we would forgive quickly and move on, because this was all going to be for nothing if we didn't keep our family together. So the biggest benefit to having your own place and having a door you can close every day is that you get to be a family inside those doors. You get to be a community, part of a community when you're outside your doors. But when you come home and you close your doors to the world, you have this need to be a family and to be able to be yourself with your family and to be able to bond and grow. And you grow in those moments, as people. And if you don't have a door to close, those things don't happen. You don't grow stronger as a family. You can't lean on each other. You don't get to bond. You don't get to close the world out. And it's so important to just be able to close the world out and be a family, I think. And I don't know what happens if you don't get those moments. It'll work out. Just keep going. Keep doing what you got to do every single day. Keep tugging along, putting one foot in front of the other, and eventually you'll get there. Don't give up hope, and don't beat yourself up. You're not a loser because you're going through a difficult situation. It doesn't make you a loser or a bad person or irresponsible person. Life happens, and it's okay.